what were your favorite and least favorite memories from trail?
If I had to pick one of each, they're probably both from the PCT. I think favorite probably in Bishop. It's not really hiking related. It was Matt's birthday. And so it was a couple of days before his birthday because on his actual birthday, we hiked up Kearsarge Pass back to the PCT with like 10 days of food. And it was rough. But before his birthday,
Yes.
we went to Bishop. We took like 2 or 3 zeros. We threw him a birthday party called Frisky Fest because that's his trail name, Frisky. And my friends got these stickers made with his face on them. And there was like 2 options, and then people could choose what sticker they wanted. We made punch in my friend's bear can, like rum punch. There was 20 of us there. We made a bunch of food. We went bowling. We just had a great time.
That sounds epic. You had me at punch in the bear can. And Bishop is really great because I've been to that bowling alley too. We hiked the PCT the same year. I think that's one of my favorite memories too, is just spending time in Bishop. What a great
Especially
town.
Oh, yeah, especially it was just where it was in the Sierra. It was just nice to have a break. But at the same time, we knew what we were going back
Yeah.
into. So
Maybe you want to linger a little bit before you have to go back and post hole all day, because we were there at the same time. I know our group was post holing by 9 a.m. every day because it was getting warm all of a sudden. And the river crossings were scary. We also lingered in Bishop because you think about what you're going into. And I don't know if your group was kind of like scared about going back in, but my group definitely was. And we were there at the same time. So, how was that for your group? There's that excitement and electricity in the air, but it's also like, oh my God, what is going to happen in the
yeah.
next stretch?
Um, for some reason, we decided to not go to Muir Trail Ridge or VVR. And so we carried extra food, especially because the stretch before that, I carried too little food. So I was like, that's not happening again. I remember packing my backpack and I had the hyperlight at that point and I could barely close the top. And I just like cried because I was like, how am I going to carry this backpack? Matt and me, and then Rusty Mama and Laser Wolf, Luke and Janet were the people we were with. So all 3 of us wanted to get back on the trail because we had already taken 2 or 3 zeros. But then Matt was like, no, let's just stay here. It was kind of awkward because we knew eventually we would have to get back on the trail. And we're trying to hitchhike, and he was like sabotaging us with, he had his ice axe out, like waving it around, like, because he didn't want anyone to pick us up.
You mentioned your hyperlight. So I had a hyperlight the whole time too. And I don't think my hyperlight has ever been heavier than in that area along the whole Triple
Same.
Crown Trail, because I don't know about you, but I had crampons. And then, of course, the ice axe, like it's super heavy with all that stuff. And then extra clothing, extra food. I think my hiker hunger was like raging at that point. So I had a lot of trouble with my hyperlight too. I was pushing the boundary, let's just say that, with the weight carry. But I definitely see why your group wanted to hang out in town more. Totally get that. Like the hitchhiking sabotage. So what a fun group you were in though.
Yeah, it
That
worked out.
sounds
Well, so we hiked with them. We started on the same day from Scout and Frodo's, and then we hiked with them until just after the Sierra because they were starting their PhDs in Germany. And so they had to get off trail from Sonora Pass to start their PhD. But yeah, we hiked through the Sierra with them and we got along pretty well for the most part. The like tensions were high, I feel like, but
yeah. Same with our group. We had a group of 6 people and there were definitely some tensions. A lot of that has to do with safety because going into the Sierra at that time was actually a little scary. With groups, it's kind of natural. There's that tension with like decisions being made about safety and other things. When should we go into town and all that? So yeah, I feel like that's a natural thing with groups in that like situation that we were in. I don't know how you felt after going across Forester Pass that year, but that freaked me out. And then the river crossings were a little scary too. Yeah, but it sounds like the most part you had a great group going through the Sierra and partying with you in town and all of that. So what about, and I'm not sure if this segues into it or not, but
yep.
worst memory from trail?
My friends and I call it the bad night. It took us a month to go through the Sierra. So we got to Candy Beds North I guess July 14th or 13th. I know we're in Mammoth on July 1st, but so like sometime in July. So then it took us 3 months to do the first half of the trail, and we only had 2 months to do the second half of the trail. And so we basically didn't take a zero from like Mammoth. We took this double zero, and then I think Ashland was our next zero. We were hiking a bunch of 30s and just high 20s. And Matt slash Frisky ended up getting a stress fracture right before Mount Hood. And so he got off trail at Timberline Lodge. That's where I started hiking with some more friends. I was sad because Matt was off trail and it started raining from Timberline Lodge till like the end of the PCT. Especially like Southern Washington was the worst, I think. And so I was just sad and the weather was terrible. And it was like right before Trout Lake, we met this guy, Mowgli, and he was obsessed with taking the like blue blazes, like extra side quests and stuff. And so he convinced us to go to the top of this little peak thing. And he was like, oh, it'll be great to camp there. And so we did. But then it was just a thunderstorm as soon as we got there. The ground was all rocky. And so I was trying to set up my tent, but it wasn't working well. And then I got inside the tent. We had service, which I think was bad because I turned on my phone and then that's when Matt was like, I already knew, but he was like, oh, I think I have a stress fracture. I'm not coming back on the trail. And so then I was extra sad. Then my tent zipper like broke. So it's just like a terrible night. We call it the bad night. And my tent was already wet because it was wet the night before. It was raining all day. We couldn't dry it. And then I was just like on my sleeping pad, but the rest of the tent was just like a puddle of water with my broken zipper. And yep, bad night.
Sometimes it's just one thing after another, and then we can laugh about it now, but in the moment, it just sucks. I think aptly named Bad Night. So let's get into scariest moment on trail.
This is not scary in terms of, this is also off trail, but it was a time we weren't sure. We thought it might end our through hike. Basically, we're in Truckee and we were trying to get in and out of town the same day. We were trying to stay at the Donner Ski Ranch, which was right off trail and they let you shower and stuff, but they were closed for some event. And so we had to hitch into Truckee. No one wanted to pick us up. And this guy picked us up. He took us to the community pool because we were like, we can shower at the pool. This other lady picked us up to bring us to the supermarket. But then she was like, very weird vibes. And she kept like insisting that we needed to stay in town. And we were like, no, we just want to go to the supermarket. Then she was like, okay, I'll bring you to the grocery store, but then you can stay with me. And she was like, my husband won't like it. And it was just really strange. And we should have been like, I mean, we tried. We were like, no, we're good. Just take us to the supermarket, please. We should have been more assertive about it probably though, but it's kind of awkward because she's trying to be nice, but you could tell something's off. So she took us to the supermarket and then we asked if she wanted us to bring our backpacks in. And she was like, oh, you can leave them in the car. Like, I'll come in the supermarket with you. And so she came in the supermarket and she kept following us down the aisles. She wanted us to buy, like, the peanut butter was on sale or something, like, buy 2 peanut butters for this price. And we're like, we don't want 2 peanut butters because we have to carry them. So she convinced us to buy like 3 family-sized packs of Oreos. At some point, she like disappears. I feel like this lady's gone with all her stuff. Sure enough, her car's gone. And then we're like, what are we going to do? She took all her stuff. And so then I'm just like crying in the supermarket. But then I see a cart off to the side and it has our backpacks in it. She had just put her stuff in this cart, luckily, and then drove off without saying anything. It worked out, but it was scary for a second. I just thought of something else. I feel like I
Yeah.
should have been more scared, but I wasn't. We camped near the cemetery in Tennessee, right after the Rhode Highlands. At 2 a.m., a truck pulls up, and then I fell back to sleep. But then my hiking partner at the time, he was like, this guy's like wandering in the woods with the flashlight. And then he was there for like, he was wandering around for like an hour and a half. And then finally, um, my friend was like, "We gotta get out of here." And so we like packed up all our stuff at like 3 a.m. I don't know what he was doing. I probably should have been more scared, but I didn't even want to get out of my tent. I just wanted to ignore the fact this was happening. Well, my friend was outside investigating and gotta get out of here.
Oh, that's creepy, especially by a cemetery. I remember that cemetery. I was actually going to do the same thing. I was going to camp there, and there was some weird person walking around, and I hiked solo. And so I was like, all right, not doing that. So I hiked on and I camped like in this random other area that was also a little sketch. Like, I feel like it's a little sketchy around there. So anyway, if anybody's hiking the AT, eventually maybe don't
Well,
camp by the
and it's
cemetery
like
if you can
right
help it.
past Mountain Harbor Hostel, which I didn't realize you could camp there as well. There's so many hostels. I was like, "Oh, I'm spending too much money. I don't need to stay at a hostel. Let's keep hiking." But then I realized we could have just camped there, and they have like best breakfast on the AT, and so it's like extra sad that I mean, it makes for a good story, but next time just camp in Mountain Harbor. Don't
Right.
camp in
That's a great tip for people who are thinking about hiking the AT because I didn't go to Mountain Harbor either, and I regret that very much.